So last time I showed you how to knit a knit stitch, and today I'll be showing you the other essential stitch in knitting, the purl stitch. Knowing both of these stitches means you'll be able to learn most types of stitch, as pretty much every stitch uses them, and even the more complicated stitches are still variations on the knit and purl stitches. The purl stitch isn't that much different to the knit stitch. So you still hold your needles the same way. So the needle with the stitches on goes in our left hand, and the empty needle, or our working needle, goes in our right hand. And the most important thing to remember is always to keep the yarn that's attached to your yarn ball in front of your work. So with knitting, we kept the yarn at the back, but with purling, always make sure that you keep it at the front. And you go in with your right hand needle, you put the tip through the top of the first stitch on your left hand needle. So with knitting, we did it through the bottom, and with purling, you go through the top, and you make sure that you keep that needle in front as well. So you put the needle through the stitch, wrap the yarn around the tip of the needle, push the needle back through that first stitch, and then slip it off the end of your left hand needle, making a new stitch on your right hand needle. So I'll do that again for you. The tip of the right hand needle goes through the next stitch on the left hand needle. You wrap the yarn around, push the tip of the needle back through that stitch, and slip it off the end of your left hand needle. So just one more time, the tip of the needle through the next stitch, wrap the yarn around, push the tip of the needle back through, and slip it off the end. So that's how you do the purl stitch, and if you keep doing this with all the stitches on your row, you'll end up with a swatch that looks the same as you get with a knit stitch and a garter stitch. Knowing how to do the knit stitch and the purl stitch means you can start to practice other types. I think the easiest next step is the stockinette stitch, which you do by knitting an entire row and then purling an entire row and repeating those two steps. So we'll do that. Since we just purled an entire row, we'll knit all the stitches on the next row. And then we'll purl all the stitches on the next row, and remember to bring that yarn back to the front of your work before you start purling, otherwise your stitches will look completely wrong. So if you continue knitting a row and then purling a row and then knitting and then purling, you'll end up with a stockinette stitch. So you can see here that it's already starting to change from a garter to a stockinette. And if you keep going with that, you'll end up with a swatch that looks something like this.